You can still get your life back. Get your life back. It's real. Get your life back. Get your life back. Get your life back.
Welcome, everybody, to Get Your Life Back Inspirational Life Coaching with Cheryl Howard, your guest. For those of you who don't know me and don't follow me, and this is your first time, you need to subscribe, you need to sign up, you need to follow the podcast because we have so many things that we discuss. When I say we, me and my guests, like I have a guest today, but before I get into that, I am a certified life purpose coach. I am a pastoral counselor. I'm a mental health professional by day and a lot of other things as well. And so everything I talk about deals with the holistic care and holistic approach. So a lot of the people that I have as guests on my podcast usually have the same approach. We talk about the mind, the spirit, the body, and the soul. And my main mission is to help to motivate people to live into their purpose, to overcome barriers, to push through barriers and live in their purpose, because I believe that's when we are most happiest, is when we're living in our purpose, because we're serving and we're doing things that we love to do. So it's not only that we serve other people, but we also serve ourselves, because when you give and you approach a situation, or you approach your service or whatever you do with the altruistic intent, meaning you go out to help other people, you're not self-centered, it actually pays you back. And that's the good thing I love about life. And a lot of times we'll learn those lessons as we go on. But today, before I introduce my wonderful guest, Amanda, which I love her name, Amanda Elise Love. My daughter's name is Love. But anyway, a lot of times, we talk about health, we talk about the mental, and how the mental also affects the physical health and vice versa. But today we're going to really get on the subject of fibromyalgia. And I know a couple of people who battle with this. So it was, for me, I wanted to do this podcast because there's a lot of people I have in mind that I actually want to send this out to, Amanda, because they battle with it all the time and they're trying different things to help them manage their pain. And not only the pain, again, we're dealing with the mental state, the emotional state, that it has on them, because it affects everything. Sometimes it brings on depression and anxiety because it's something that they battle with every day. And I got stories for days, even of a very close friend of mine who deal with this, and she's a therapist. And there's been times in the past when she's been in so much pain, she couldn't even drive herself all the way home. And so because she would pass by my house, she would stop at my house and she'll just make it in. Can't move, her muscles can't turn. And I can't even imagine trying to drive from one city to the next city home, trying to make it home in so much pain. And so my house is almost like a refuge. Like, let me just stop here for a couple of hours. And when she would feel better, good enough, she would drive home. But anyway, we won't get into that today. I want to welcome my guest, Amanda Elise Love, to the podcast. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. I've been watching the work that you do, and I think it's so great. Because, people call this like the invisible illness. You can't, like a lot of other illness, you can't see it, but you feel it. And I know people who've gone to the doctor and they think it's all in their minds because they can't see it. They make you think you're crazy.
Yeah, and I think that the people around them, like their friends and family, don't understand.
Right.
And they think they're crazy, and they're like, well, why can't you go and do the family event? And these people can't get off the couch. They're in so much pain. And a lot of times they have to give up working because they just can't do it.
Exactly.
And they don't have the mental stamina to even focus on doing anything. So,
right.
Along with the fatigue and
right. And I witnessed that, and I'm glad it's unfortunate that I know people that deal with it, because I had an aunt who had it too. But at the same time, I'm glad I was a witness, and I can see what it does to them, to their body. And it's like a fight every day. And then I know we're going to talk about that later. Most of my friends hate to take meds because of how the meds affect them. So that's a whole nother monster in itself, because I know people who said some of the meds, it make them see delusions, like things that are not there, or even when they sleep in, seeing creatures. And it's kind of scary. It's like, sometimes they'd rather deal with the pain than to take the medication. So that's a whole nother thing I know you'll talk about too. But anyway, we're going to learn a little bit more about Amanda. I'm going to read her bio, and then we're just going to go ahead and get into the podcast, today's podcast. So My guest on the podcast today, again, is Amanda Elise Love. Thanks for gracing us with your presence, Amanda. I'm so happy that you're here and you're going to share your story because Amanda is a witness to what we're talking about. So Amanda is a registered holistic nutrition who works with those who have battled with fibromyalgia. It's almost like a tongue twister. Amanda takes a holistic approach when addressing health and discussing nutrition, including supplements. She is here to talk on the holistic care, which is one of my favorite subjects, meaning the integration of the mind, body, and spirit when addressing health issues. Amanda has a long history of illness, which culminated with the diagnosis of fibromyalgia at the age of 20 years old. She knows the syndrome and its symptoms from her own experience. The good news is that Amanda is no longer suffering or battling with the pain and fatigue and headaches associated with this syndrome. Now Amanda helps others diagnosed with fibromyalgia by sharing her own journey combating it and using a holistic approach and life transformation. And so she's going to talk about all those things that would cause a transformation. So I really want people to get help today. So tag your friends, family members, those of you, who know people who deal with fibromyalgia or something similar. There's other diseases or diagnoses that have very similar symptoms. And so this will help everybody, even if you don't have fibromyalgia. I know what she's going to say is going to help all of us. So Amanda, I want to know, what have you been up to lately? And then we're going to go into your journey.
So what I've been up to lately.
Yeah.
So I have my own podcast.
Okay.
And I just celebrated 1 year last month.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I have 26 episodes because when I started looking for like fibromyalgia podcasts.
Right.
And health podcasts, and I didn't see anything out there. This was back early last year. And I was like, okay, this is something I should be doing.
Right.
It's a great opportunity for me because I could share the podcast episodes that I've done.
Right.
Continuously, so I don't always have to be creating new content and stuff. But anyone new that follows me can go back to previous content and stuff. And so I just thought that it was time. That was the next thing to do. So I've been doing that for a year.
Okay.
And the last couple months I've been focused on getting on other people's podcasts because I want to spread this message as far as I can. And a lot of times people with fibromyalgia don't know that there's real help out there.
Right.
And a lot of these podcasts that I've been on, sometimes they're not exactly health related, but they're sharing an inspirational story and stuff. And usually, at least I've noticed a lot of people say to me, well, I don't have fibromyalgia, but I know someone who does have fibromyalgia. So you never know like what people are listening to, and it just is a great way to spread my message.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of people are home right now and they're tired of the news and maybe they're tired of watching Netflix. So
exactly.
they're a little bored, so they want to do something different.
True. But this is a good time to be educated on stuff, while we sit still.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us about your journey, what has led you to your purpose of helping others that battle with fibromyalgia, and about living a healthy lifestyle. So I know everything's just going to fall right into the next.
Oh, yeah. So I was born 6 weeks early.
Okay.
And I was a very sick child and into my teenage years and stuff. So I had viral infections. I was sick every 4 to 6 weeks. I used to run an extreme high temperature. And I would go from the doctor to doctors. They would just put me on the antibiotics and stuff. And so then I did a personal training program right after high school. And after that, I completed that program and I turned 20 years old, and all of a sudden I couldn't get off the couch. I was in so much pain. I was extremely fatigued.
Right.
And we didn't know what was going on. And then this went on into the fall, and we decided to go to the rheumatology place.
Right.
And it's like one of the top places in the country, and it was in Mesa, Arizona. And so what they said to me was, oh, they believed at that time I had fibromyalgia, and of course they put you on the medications and stuff. And they said, well, you could do physical therapy, which isn't going to do anything. So I was like, okay. And I didn't stay on the medications because I didn't want to be on medications for the next 60 years, right?
Right.
So, and I think the medications made me nauseous. It's been so long, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I went I went to the physical therapy, and the physical therapy, I would come out, I was in so much pain, I was crying. I did the swimming, I did the weight training, and I've never been like overweight or anything, so I've always been healthy and stuff. And I didn't really get why they thought the physical therapy would do anything. So, and people with fibromyalgia, it's not because they're overweight or anything. So, and so then there was like a pain center next door, and so we asked the rheumatology place. We said, oh, should we try that? They said yes, and they didn't really have any answers. So I did a consultation with the pain center place, and they said they recommended 3 separate times for like treatment. And so what it was is that you would have like a little hospital gown, and then your back was showing. So they would have you lay on your stomach. They would draw like little circles, and they would touch all the different trigger points. Right. Because those with fibromyalgia, you have to get at least 13 of the 18. Okay. So what they would do is they would roll you out, and you would be awake, and they would shoot this huge needle. I don't remember what was in the needle.
Right, but it was big.
Into all these different trigger points. Right. And it was so extremely painful that your blood sugar would drop. So then you would have to, of course, you had to have cookies or juice, and you would feel so lightheaded afterwards. Right. And they would have you sit there for a little while because they wanted that to go back up, and you couldn't stand up because you were so lightheaded. And then I would come out, and I would just be crying because it was so painful. Right. And my grandma she would drive us home and stuff, right? So at that time it was like, okay, so I did that. That was in the fall of 2010. And then in 2011, in the spring of 2011, my grandma actually saw like a little ad advertising for a guy, and he was a wellness chiropractor. Okay. And so she went to the little talk that he had, and he only was like 10 minutes away. And she talked to him, and he said, well, if she has fibromyalgia at the age of 20 years old, she's been very sick for a very long time. And so at that time I worked with him for 8 months. I did a stool testing, saliva, blood testing, all of that. Right. And I actually found out in July of that year that I was very sensitive to gluten. Okay. I have soy. I can't have soy. I can't have eggs. I can't have dairy. Those are the main things.
Right.
And the gluten was the highest he had ever seen. And I have 2 genes that from both one set from each parent, so that might predispose me to that
Okay.
sensitivity.
Oh,
So
you saw that doctor. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so and then he also did the chiropractic stuff, right? And I don't
Right.
remember some other
Yeah.
stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. And so then after that, I did some other like naturopathic and acupuncture, but I think it took a long time for me to get better.
Right. You turn
So
thing.
yeah, so then I decided I went into like a health coaching program right around that time, but it wasn't as in depth that I wanted. So then I decided to do a register, like a program from the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, long distance. And so that took like 4 years to do. And I've been a registered holistic nutritionist who works with those with fibromyalgia for a couple years now.
Right. Wait, so quick question.
Yeah.
As you went into the registered training program, was one of your main reasons for doing that to find out more about your own, fibromyalgia, more about that? Still learned more in that program when it came to that, or no? Or more
No,
about
the program was more about like different health
health,
concerns, and
life? Okay.
it actually it helped me to learn about like what body systems
Okay.
are related to back to
Ah,
to those health concerns.
okay.
And I have actually like the health history that I do with people who are like one-on-one, that gives me a clearer idea of like
Right.
what they're related,
Right.
what it
The
relates back to,
consultation.
right?
Okay.
Because those with fibromyalgia, usually they have more than one health condition that they're
True.
dealing
Cold
with.
curry, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives you an idea, but a lot of times people with fibromyalgia, they're on a lot of medications, so
Yeah.
it takes time. And a lot of times people with fibromyalgia, they don't get diagnosed. The
True.
sad thing is they don't get diagnosed till like later in life, because I
Right.
think they have so many health conditions. When they're going to the doctors can't figure it out. And there is now because I'm always doing research and
Right.
stuff about fibromyalgia. Now they can diagnose you with fibromyalgia if you have the fatigue, the pain
Okay.
issues at least 3 months or longer, and it has to be continuous.
Okay.
So it never goes away. So they'll or if they can't figure out what's going on with you, they'll diagnose you.
Uh-huh.
So it's not the greatest probably thing, but there's actually a blood test that is called the FMA blood test, where they've I guess figured out that you have fibromyalgia, but
Right.
it's not been around I think it's been around for like since 2014. So I don't think the doctors know about it yet. So
Okay.
most of the time they're still diagnosing you with like the triggered thing.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I was going to say, I know even back then, you mentioned 2010, when my girlfriend was diagnosed with it, they were still trying
Yeah.
to figure out what it is. Some of them,
Yeah.
some of them even thought, I heard some bad stories from some other people that a doctor just thought it was an imaginary disease. Stuff,
Yeah,
stuff you
yeah.
don't know about. And it's like, you can't just, people know their bodies. They may not be able to articulate because you don't know what it is. It's just pain. Some people say, maybe it's arthritis. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that.
That's why a lot of that's why they get a lot of times it's the rheumatologist that
Right.
diagnose, because they think it's an arthritis disease, but they really don't. They really don't know what type of disease is. A lot of times I'll get people will say to me, well, my doctor said it was a neurological disease. And I'm like, well, then why isn't the neurologist like telling you what to do? I personally think it's sort of autoimmune issues, because a lot of people with fibromyalgia they're very sick and they have autoimmune issues, but I've said that to people, and a lot of times people will say to me, well, my doctor said it wasn't autoimmune disease. So, but I think we get so stuck on like what it is
Yeah.
that we're not focused on like the steps to getting better.
Right. Right. This is when I want to ask you
Yeah.
next. I want to know about your whole diet change, everything you
Yeah.
had to do to change your lifestyle so you can manage the pain or decrease the pain.
Yeah.
And, yes.
Well, so I've been off of those foods and stuff for like, I guess it'll be 9 years, but I think people think that it's one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard a lot of times people will say to me, well, I've tried going gluten-free, and I'm like, okay, did you actually like, how long did you do that? Because
Right.
honestly, I think everybody cheats, like they cheat. I'm sorry, it's the truth though. With if we're stressed out or we're bored, we're gonna eat something that might not be the best thing.
Yeah.
And even one little small molecule of gluten can affect you for months.
Wow.
So that's a big thing. So it's like people have to realize I totally tell people, and I tell this to future clients and stuff too. I say, not one thing is going to fix you, and we have to get over that mindset of the quick fix, because a lot of times I think on the internet people are advertising the quick fix and they don't have the health knowledge. So I think we need to stop focusing on those type of people and focus on the people who are actually specialized in that area, whatever that health area is. Because I totally believe, like, I work on my own health, and if there's something that I don't know about, like hormones aren't my specialty. So that's why I focus on I'm going to like a naturopath. So you have to know that people with nutrition knowledge, they might know a lot, but I'll definitely tell you if there's some like health condition that I don't know anything about, and I really don't think it's my specialty, because I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of people with fibromyalgia have, is they go from one doctor to doctor, and it's just wasting their time, and it gets expensive, honestly.
I was getting ready to say, and not everybody can afford a naturopath doctor.
No.
Or see them as often. And I had one before I moved from New York to here in Virginia and New Jersey. A whole holistic business. She's a Christian and she's a naturopath, so that was down my alley. But I went just for natural stuff, because I always like to take natural things. But it cost something. But I would get enough from her from one visit, and the things that she would have me order, it would last me several months before I see her again. And of course, I didn't have a health crisis at the time, so I know it's a little different. However, there was some deficiencies and things I kind of wanted to balance in my body, and she had something for everything, so it was great.
Yeah, I totally agree that I think you always have to be getting help in certain areas, or you're not gonna, you don't have time to do the research, honestly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say to me, well, I'm doing the research, and I'm like, well, the research out there with fibromyalgia is not very good.
Right.
And we're all individualized, so you might need an individualized plan.
Right.
A lot of times I think we think one plan works for every single person.
Right.
And it doesn't.
Right. And that's everything. Okay, so I want to know about your eating lifestyle. What changes have you made in your diet? You mentioned some things, but I want to know how you was able to manage your pain naturally.
So for me personally, I don't eat those foods. Like, I used to eat a lot of eggs and stuff like that. And you really have to look at the ingredients, like at the store.
You gotta read everything.
If you're like Of course not with like fruits and vegetables and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But if you ever want like something special, like crackers or ice cream or stuff like
Yeah.
that. But what I've seen over the last 10 years is that there's so many products out there
Yes.
that are like, in the beginning it didn't seem like there was as many, but there's so many you can't even keep
Yeah.
up
A lot
now.
of choices now. Yep.
There's so many choices, and
Mhm.
even if when you go to a restaurant, there's at least some choice, like
Yeah.
whatever restaurant you go to, there's at least one choice where you could have that food, and you just have to make sure to tell them that you're sensitive to these foods and
Right.
that so they could bring it out before everybody else's meal and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you just have to be careful and look at the products, because a lot of times, like example would be like, I love tea, and
Me
tea
too.
seems to and, and tea seems to always, like, I've looked at a lot of teas and they seem to have like soy in them, and I'm like, that's surprising. But
Really?
yeah, so you just have to read your food labels, because
You
that's a big
do.
thing.
And I
And,
love doing it. I love
and
reading.
honestly, when I work with people, that's what I could help them with. I could
Yes.
tell you what kind of products you need
Right.
and stuff, because I don't want anyone to ever feel deprived
Right.
when,
Right.
when they're changing their diet, because it's a big change and
Right.
their family members might not get it. But I mean, there's like hamburger buns now that are allergy free. There's bread. There's so much stuff. It's crazy.
Exactly. So you help them become more conscious
Yeah,
eater of
yeah,
watching everything. And I've done that only because I'm lactose
yeah,
intolerant. So
yeah,
for years and years, I mean, once in a while, like you're saying, we cheat. I'll do the mac and cheese and stuff, but I can tolerate it because I don't eat it a lot. So
yeah,
most of the time, I don't eat dairy products. Most of the time. So when
yeah,
I do hearing it, and it won't bother me, I'm like, oh, I'm good today. But then I have to be good not to overdo it and then eat it again and then again. So I'll take my break. So I've been already buying stuff like almond milk, cashew milk,
yeah,
rice milk, oat milk. I've been doing that for years. And like you say, and I used to have to go to the health food store for that, because way back then, that's like
yeah,
20 years ago, you didn't really see that in a regular supermarket. But as you said, now you can find it everywhere. Your Kroger, your Food Line. I mean, a lot of stores have those choices. And I'm so happy, Amanda, that we have the non-dairy ice cream. So you can imagine, because I was like, how you can live life without eating ice cream and eating cereal? I love cereal. I don't care how old I
yeah.
get. Sometimes cereal is my meal, and you have healthy cereal choices, but it's so good to be able to sit down and have some almond milk with my cereal.
Well, honestly, I sort of, and some of these things taste better than the milk. I love almond milk. I love it better than the just real milk.
The
So
cow milk, right. And
yeah,
yeah, it's funny. People kill me with that, because I don't know if you notice the commercials now with regular milk. They go, "This is the real milk." Because they know a lot of people are not drinking cow milk like they did before. And so now
yeah,
there's this competition now. And so they've been doing a lot of commercials
yeah,
saying the real milk and this and that. And I'm like, and I had a conversation with somebody who said, how you going to have milk out of nuts and stuff? And I said, you got to remember, milk doesn't only mean something that's dairy. Milk is also a texture. It's something that's creamy. There's other things that's called milk. There are lotions and creams that's called milk because of the thickness and the whiteness and the substance. So we can use the term milk.
Well, a lot of people, even if they're just being conscious of
Yes.
what they're eating, I've noticed, and people just go, they at least tried, they go cut out the milk, if
Right.
anything. They might not cut out the gluten, but they cut out the
The
milk.
milk, right.
No, the almond milk and the dairy milks.
Right.
I have a sister, and that's what she does. So
Okay. Yeah. I don't do too much
yeah,
gluten either, but I know there's some things that have gluten. But I am a conscious shopper, so I just try to reduce it, because I know all of that stuff is not
yeah,
good for you, especially to consume a lot of it. So, but
yeah.
I want to know about the supplements. Some of the supplements you take that really helps you. And oh wait, before I get to that, do you do you use CBD oil or CBD? Because I know that's very helpful with clients that I work with who have mental health, but they also have pain from other issues. And for them, it has calmed the anxiety down, and it also takes they said the edge off of their pain where they can manage.
I actually don't use CBD
Okay.
because
Okay.
I think everybody's like so focused on it right now.
Right.
And I don't want to say if I did CBD, then people wouldn't want to know the other suggestions, because
Okay.
I've noticed a lot of people. I don't I don't like that everybody's doing it personally.
Gotcha.
If you're not a health expert, or in like that type of field, I don't feel like you should be doing it, because you don't know the whole history of like
Right.
the person, right? And I do general recommendations
Okay.
in my podcast,
Okay.
and not every episode, but like general.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't that's not individualized. That's something you could try and
Exactly.
stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't want people to think that one thing is going to fix them.
No.
So
Right.
I focus on other supplements and stuff.
Right. Well, you like me because I do mental
Yeah.
health counseling. I help my clients changing
Yeah.
their lifestyle, changing their diet, exercising. I just brought that up because I noticed with two of my clients,
Yeah.
they've been using it and that's really been helping them. I'm like, look, that's a natural thing that God created.
Yeah.
It's medicinal. There's no psychoactive drug in it. So in addition to eating
Yeah.
right, reducing their sugar intake and their salt,
Yeah.
I'm also trying to help them manage their blood pressure, their glucose
Right.
levels,
Yeah.
the pain, because they want to wean off the meds. And the reason why I brought CBD up is it's medicinal in a sense where it really helps them with that. But they also, like you said, you have to do everything. You got to eat a certain way too to change things, because something actually it increases your pain or contributes to your pain, like eating less dairy food. So you won't have so much mucus built up in the body, which can cause more pain. So yeah, it's a holistic thing.
Yeah, and I've CBD can get really expensive too.
Yeah, and if you get real
And some people have said, I've seen people say, oh, it hasn't done anything. And I think a lot of times when people take supplements, they're not taking the right dosage.
Yes, right, right.
So I want people to be taking the right dosage. And I want to get a general idea of what people are dealing with before recommending anything.
Right, right, exactly. Which makes sense. And some people don't take things long enough, or they don't make the changes long enough. They want to eat good this week and then expect a miracle to happen. It's like you got to train your whole system, and you know, it takes several weeks and months before you really feel like a real big change. But they can feel small changes, because sometimes they may say, I got more of my energy back. My pain is decreased. So, you know, I know you help your clients, you know, do stuff like that. You know, like you said, it's different for each person. And when you find out their lifestyle and what they're doing, then you're going to help them with that. That's where your plans come in.
Yeah, and it's all like mindset. A lot of the time, I think people with fibromyalgia, they've already given up, or we're getting a lot of mixed messages on Facebook and Instagram and there's a lot of images where it'll just say, oh, there's over 200 symptoms with fibromyalgia, or there's 7 stages of fibromyalgia. And honestly, I don't believe a lot of what I see online.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, you're getting, and then a lot of people are just giving out random advice too.
Right.
And then you get a lot of people who are complaining in these Facebook groups, and it's like, how's that really helpful? Luckily, back when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I was personally in so much pain and fatigue, I didn't care about Facebook or anything, and I don't remember Facebook groups being as popular as they are now.
Right.
So, and I don't think I would have even joined any of those Facebook groups. I've had one person say to me, oh, I should probably stop being in this Facebook group just because it's so negative. And
okay, yeah. Like I said, it can be helpful But you just got to know that.
Yeah.
You have to know, like, well, I tried this for myself and it helped. It may not help you, but you can
Yeah.
try it. You know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times I think people just say, they don't even say that. They say, they'll just say, okay, I've tried. If somebody complains about something, that even when I post something personally on my personal page, people will start chiming in and they say, well, this has helped me. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's going to help them.
Right.
Or they're going to say, oh, I've tried everything and nothing has helped me.
Right.
Well, that's sort of vague.
Right.
A lot of times people will say that and I'll be like, well, what does that really, that could mean anything, honestly.
Right.
You might have tried only one or two things, and you might have not tried it long enough. So it's just, I think a lot of times people with fibromyalgia just need to find someone who actually has the knowledge. And actually, I think we look up our doctor's credentials. So I think we should look up what, like, people with nutrition knowledge, what their credentials are.
Right.
Because that's important.
Absolutely. So can you tell me about what process you take clients through when you're helping them with fibromyalgia? I know you do some kind of consultation or assessment at the beginning just to find out, you know, their experience.
So what I do is I do a 45-minute free phone call. But when you decide to do a phone call with me, I have 5 questions that I ask, so I know ahead of time if you're really serious and what your main health concerns are, and gives me a little idea.
Right.
And then after that, when they send in that form, it's like,
oh, we froze. Unfreeze. Oh, I hope the thing comes back in. Hey everybody, we are back. So sorry for the technical difficulties. You know how these things are sometimes, so you just gotta have patience, right? So Amanda was sharing with us the process she takes clients through when they meet with her, you know, with the whole assessment piece, and then you was talking about the 5 questions you ask your clients. So we can start from there.
So I ask like, what are your main health concerns? Is there anyone that needs to be help you decide if you want to work with me? So at least people know ahead of time I am going to mention my services and the money aspect.
Right.
Because personally, I want people who actually want to be on the phone calls and stuff. And so that's 2 of the questions I ask. They're very short. Right. And it tells me, when you fill these out, the questions, then it tells me that you're at least like sort of ready. Right. If that makes sense. Because if you send me the form and it's set up an appointment, but you don't fill out the questions, I'm like, what's going, like, do you want the help, or are you just serious? Right. Do you just want free advice? And I'm not about giving free advice. That's just not.
Right.
And so we do, so when you set up that 45-minute call, you set up, it comes through me, and I get a time in a day that you want to talk to me. If you're in the US, I'll call you, but if you're somewhere else, then I want you to call me. I've decided recently, because people who are in like somewhere else in the world, I've noticed if I call them, a lot of times it won't go through. Okay. For whatever reason. And it sort of tells me that you're committed to getting on the phone with me, because a lot of times I think people sign up for phone calls, or we sign up for these free things, but we're not serious. And then and I also send the email like 24 hours before, right, and the morning of, so you could always, like, there's like a cancellation, because I want people who are super serious about this. And so that's what I'm trying to get people, if they do a phone call, to be on top of it, right?
Right. They're ready to be committed. Right.
Yeah. And showing me that getting on that phone call shows me at least you're a little committed.
Right.
To take the next step.
Okay.
Even if you don't decide to work with me at that time, maybe it's just not the right time, right? So I learned more about you. You ask me questions about my services. I tell you about my services. And then you decide if you want to work with me one-on-one. I also have a 30-day program that you could do.
Oh, awesome.
So, and then I also have an 8 to 10 week program, but I wouldn't recommend that because that's a very detailed program, and and it's more going into the like elimination diet and stuff, and people with fibromyalgia don't need that in the very beginning, so I wouldn't recommend that. But if you want more individualized, then one-on-one is the best thing.
Right, right.
And so with one-on-one, you do the same thing. You set up a day and a time. I recommend doing at least a week ahead of time because I have health history forms, and I know people with fibromyalgia, they're having the brain fog, the fatigue, they don't have the energy. So it might take them some time to fill out those forms.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want you to feel rushed. And so we do that call. I learned everything I can about that you, because I think a lot of times when we go to the doctor, they only spend like 10 minutes and they can't get the full picture. And this way I get the whole picture of what you're dealing with, what your lifestyle is, if you're married, you're single, how old you are, if you're working, not working, what's your day-to-day life. And a lot of times I find out in this 90-minute session is that people forget to tell me about something on the health history form. So I learned something new about that person by talking to them that I wouldn't have found out. And then after that, they give me some, so after that phone call, I decide, okay, what should I focus on with this person? And then I'll send them an email with recommendations. I don't like to give too many recommendations because I don't like to overwhelm people. People have very, very, very busy lives, and they don't have the time to have like 20 recommendations, and who wants to feel overwhelmed? And with your health, it can be an overwhelming thing. So then, and then after that, we do 50-minute follow-up calls every 2 to 3 weeks where we could change the suggestions, maybe go more in depth about a certain topic. If you want to learn everything about gluten-free and stuff, we could go more in depth about that in one follow-up call, or if you want to just focus on sleep. So people have to realize it's a process, and it's not going to take just 1 month to feel better. You might feel better with some of the suggestions I recommend, but I don't promise things. I could tell you all these recommendations, but if you're not going to do the work, then I can't control that, and it's not my job to do that. My job is to support you along the way, because a lot of times with people with fibromyalgia, they don't have the support.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Everybody think it's in your head.
And I think a lot of times with people in general, we all have something going on where we need somebody like a coach or a mentor to help us, because we can't, for whatever reason, we can't figure it out.
Right, exactly. And like you said, you need that support. So you support them via email. I'm sure you have you have your own group.
Yeah, I do have my own group.
Okay, that's good.
Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the group.
Okay.
Because I don't get as much interaction in the Facebook group.
It's challenging having groups. You need
and I've had this group for over 2 years, and it just hasn't seemed like it's the right I don't know, for whatever reason. So
Mm-hmm.
I might just focus more on my personal page. I get interactions when I
Okay.
ask questions
Right.
and Facebook lives and stuff, and I can still share my podcast and all of that.
Right. Okay, that's true.
So
And I see
the
you have a
thing,
lot of information you share on your page, so that's great.
yeah, so honestly, I don't know if it's the best thing of with my time, because
Okay.
I want to try to cut out the things that are not the most helpful, and
That's smart.
that doesn't seem like the best thing for
Yeah.
me. And I actually won this free phone call with a business coach
Okay.
like at the end of last year. And so in February, so I did the phone call with her, and she said to me, what's one thing that you would get rid of if you could? And right away, it was the Facebook group.
Okay. Okay.
I have an email list that people could be on. So,
okay.
So honestly, that I rather focus on people being on my email list and stuff, because we never know with like Facebook what they're doing.
You got that right.
They always they're always changing stuff and stuff, and it's sort of like, okay, you always have to relearn some new something, and the algorithms and stuff, and
analytics, algorithm, everything. It's a lot. Online business is not the easiest. It's easy in a sense where you don't have the same responsibilities as a brick and mortar and all that overhead and everything. And we do have systems today, even though those systems can add up a lot, but you have to like do the front work first, which is a lot. And once you get it going, it can kind of, on some things, take care of itself, but you do got to stay on top of it. That's why we have to get assistance and all the other kind of stuff. So sometimes it's challenging with groups, you know, staying interactive. And I have a group as well that I schedule certain things to pop out, you know, but like sometimes
I've
slow down.
I schedule things out and stuff, but it's
still a lot though.
It's just not, I don't know.
Not right now.
It's just not, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be the right fit. And I'm also, a lot of these groups, these fiber groups, let me share my content in their group.
That's good, yes.
So honestly, I'm not sure if I want to keep with the Facebook. It doesn't seem like it's been paying off. And so I'd rather spend the time being on other people's podcasts.
Yeah, we got a lot of audience. Yeah.
And creating other content, and I have my own podcast, and that takes a lot of time.
You got that right.
And then I'm doing emails also. I've upped it to 2 emails a week.
Okay.
So that takes time, and I would love to do speaking events and stuff too eventually. So the Facebook group just.
I hear you. Yeah, I understand. I definitely understand. And you know, just like we're pulled, they're pulled too. So. Even people keeping up with groups. I'm in groups, and it's like I can't be on every other day. It's just too much. You know, I'm not just.
Honestly, I'm thinking I might just get rid of. I have so many groups. I'm just like, I don't.
Delete. Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm like, I think I'm just gonna start deleting a lot of these groups.
Yes, I did that too. Unfollow. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm on Facebook. I've tried to cut back on that, but I'm on Facebook a lot, and I'd rather be spending the time private messaging people, getting to know people and what they're dealing with and stuff. And a lot of times I can ask a question and it's not whatever reason. But then in these other fiber groups, people ask questions all the time, and it just seems like so. People with fibromyalgia on Facebook, I'm sort of thinking they might not be the right fit. Okay. In a sense. So I'd rather be focusing getting going to networking groups, getting people referring and stuff that way. Maybe. So.
Yeah, that's good. Even the messenger is good because you get to provide the one-on-one help and support as well. So. You know, people like that kind of attention because I get that too. People pull me out and then jump into my DM or Messenger, and then I'll continue a conversation with them. And, you know, that way we won't, first of all, if it's somebody else's group, you don't want to go against their policies and seem like not you, I'm just saying, I'm thinking about the groups I'm in, and there's people that do that. I'm like, that's not appropriate to go on the group and you're unless you get permission to do, to do that, and you're talking about your business, how you can help, and like, this is somebody else's service and group. So you need to
and that's happened with like with me. I've seen
right.
people start to, I'll say something something like, are you struggling with your sleep? And then they'll
Right.
start chiming in, and
Yeah.
so
So it depends on
and people are really negative on Facebook right now. So
yeah.
so,
Yes, it can be. It's easy to misread people, but that's the reason. But anyway, I'm so glad you're helping people with this, because like we was talking about earlier, doctors are even still doing research. They can't really pinpoint. They try to guess. We only humans. We do the best we can do the research, and that's all we can do. But like, there's a lot of symptoms that are similar. Like, pain can be associated with any type of disease. So even the lifestyle changes you talk about, like I said, can help anybody. If you got arthritis, if you got something else, it can help anybody. There's food, like I said, that we eat that can contribute to pain, and things that we drink. And you talked about the teas, and there's some medicinal teas. But like you said, not only doing things on your own, but talking to a nutritional or holistic or professional with some training who can help you with that. Because even with my clients, I tell them to talk to your doctor before you interact certain herbs or certain medication. And let your doctor know that you want to wean off stuff, because I'm all about the weaning off.
I'm
all about, let's not make this a long life thing of meds if you don't have to be. If you can learn how to manage it naturally, the doctor will help you with that process. And if not, then you get someone like Amanda, a nutritional, holistic nutrition.
Because I think a lot of times, I think people are on so many medications, and then they don't even know what's working, what isn't working.
Exactly.
And they have so many side effects. I'm like, but I can't say to you, go off that medication. You have to talk to your doctor.
I've advised them, talk to your doctor, let them know, because you also have right on your own body. Let them know your process. Tell them, I don't want to be on meds my whole life. I want to learn how to manage my anxiety or my pain naturally. I want to decrease my dosage or whatever it is. And communication is important. So let them know that as well, because people are we glorify sometimes titles of people, but they're humans. They don't know everything. Your body. There's sometimes
I think
work for us.
I think a lot of times people need to listen to what their bodies are telling them.
Right. Exactly.
Because the doctors have very little nutrition education.
I was gonna say, they practice medicine. That's what they do.
They're not there to fix. I mean, not fix it. They're not there to tell you like food. They might say, "Oh, you need to lose some weight or something," but they're not going to tell you how to do it. And that's what I'm focused on. I want to tell you how to do it.
Right.
And I want to be there to support you so you can do it.
Right. And that's why you take them through a process. Exactly. It's refreshing when you do run into a medical professional, a doctor who knows nutritional stuff. And it's so great. I love those kind of doctors, because they'll tell you, you can do this naturally. You can, I love that, because they have that holistic approach that you and I have. They're not just focused on meds. They're focused on anything, that alternative meds, alternative interventions that can really help you. So I'm so glad you're doing that with people. And I pray your business continue to grow, because there's so many people who battle with fibromyalgia out there. Sometimes they don't even know, but it brings attention and awareness, and that's so important.
And honestly, I feel like God put this on my heart to do this.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have gone through that time in my life if it wasn't meant to help everybody else with fibromyalgia. And honestly, the sad thing is, there's not that many people out there doing this. So
right. So
people just don't know that people are out there doing it.
Exactly. So it's good you're showing up, and people can find you. Speaking of finding you, what is your website? How can people connect with you?
My website is my full name, so it's Amanda Elise Love. So, and for anything having to do, like my social media is the same thing as Amanda Elise Love, my business page, my Instagram and Facebook. And My podcast
Yes.
is called Fibromyalgia Real Solutions with
Okay.
Amanda Love, and it's on Apple iTunes and pretty much any platform. I think it's on every platform. So.
Okay, so you can find Amanda Elise Love. I like saying her name. I like the word. I like the name Amanda. I like the name Elise, and I like Love.
Yeah.
That's so pretty. I'm so glad we was finally able to do this, Amanda. I know it's going to be helpful for a lot of people. And even just when you mention groups, there's some people that don't even know that there are groups on Facebook that can help them. Facebook don't have to be a negative thing. It's what you do, your behavior on Facebook, and getting in the right.
Yeah.
Supportive. I'm in groups for I'm in groups for people like me with lactose intolerance. And we share information, so it's so great.
Mm-hmm.
So any final words you want to say before we end?
So the final thing is just to reach out to me and add me as a friend on Facebook, and you could always sign up for my newsletter where I have a free sleep guide. Well, that tells you where a supplement that helps you get that deep, restful sleep.
Oh, I need that. I gotta stop.
Yeah. It helps you get that deep, restful sleep, so you don't feel like a truck's hit you when you get up. Because people with fibromyalgia have very low serotonin levels, and so that's the best thing to do is sign up for that newsletter, because you'll find out anything that's going on, like any new podcast episodes or anything like that.
Awesome.
And I would love to connect with you, so please reach out.
Reach out to Amanda Elise Love. And if you do have fibromyalgia, you know any other people that have it, please share this information with them so they can get the help that they need. It's good to have a team of support individuals to help you deal with this, because what works for one person may not work for somebody else, or you may just find out a plethora of information that'll help you in your own process to manage your pain. Even dealing with the emotional part that comes along with it. Like Amanda said, you got other professionals that can help you in other areas that she wouldn't, that's not her specialty, but she already knows that you may need to work with a nutrition holistic person. You may need to also work with someone who, like a therapist, to deal with the maybe depression or anxiety that comes along with battling with that, because, sometimes it just feels overwhelming, or you feel like you're by yourself, like you said, and you said a lot of people don't have the support, or people don't believe you, or whatever the case is. So you do need support. It's very helpful in knowing that you're not by, and it's becoming more common now. You didn't hear about it before. Now it's like a lot of people, I've come across a lot of people said that they have it. So it's really, really common, so hopefully, prayerfully soon they'll come up with the whole main, reasons why people have it, but in the meantime, there's things you can do. There's lifestyle changes you can make. Surround yourself around positive people. You can't be around people who are very negative. You got to start in life. When we talk about holistic approach, we're talking about the spiritual, as Amanda said, the mind and the body. So even your spirit, even who you are as a spiritual being, you have to think about the people you are around, how they affect you mentally. Because whatever affects you mentally is also going to affect you physically. So it's just so important. And so this is all part of, like you talk about, a lot of times you do podcasts, it may not be health related, but I talk about health in the sense of emotional and mental health and physical. So it's still health. And, I'm into the natural as much as you can lifestyle, or at least incorporating natural foods and things into your diet, supplements. And sometimes we're inconsistent. And sometimes I'll be on a good track and I'm taking them every day. And then sometimes days go by and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to take. And you can feel the difference when you take them. And so I'm here to tell you they do help. Supplements. Because you could be deficient in something, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's just that one supplement, like Amanda may help you with, it has been like the missing key, you know what I'm saying? That you may like, oh, this is what I've been needing my whole life. Anyway, thanks Amanda so much for joining me on Get Your Life Back podcast. And maybe hopefully I can be a guest on your podcast too.
Sounds great.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining in. And until next time, peace and blessings. Bye-bye. Let me in.